Uranium stocks had a pullback today because the overall market, the CPI numbers were out, and the overall market was down almost 5%. We're gonna go over a lot of bullish news for uranium. We're gonna talk about what I think is gonna happen coming in the next few weeks. We got a lot of big updates and a lot of things you're gonna wanna stick around for. Now, even with the pullback in uranium and the volatility, a lot of you have been doing great. And I'm gonna show you some of the gains. Now, this is the private Discord, but if you guys give me your like number and you guess the right price for uranium, that's going to be January 1st of 2023, then you're going to get a year access to this, to the private Discord. And also another prize you guys have been waiting. You are going to get actual physical uranium. Now, one of these, I'm going to be able to send it out as long as you can get it. Now, this is actually uranium. This is legit. And as you can see, it is glowing under the black light. But this is a specimen that I will send you. You will win this, but you got to be subscribed, obviously, to the channel. You can also do it in the Discord. Now, there's a link for the Discord. There's a free channel that we have now. This link is going to expire very, very soon, and it's going to be like by tomorrow, probably, for this video. Now, you got to either do it in there, on Twitter, or in the comments here. Give your price to the exact dollar amount. And as I put, it would be $79.42 is what I say it could be by January 1st. If things take off. A lot of great traders in uranium. And that's really all the people who have made money on, uranium this year is anyone who's been day and swing trading. One of my buddies, we'll call him UEC, man. Now, he has actually traded UEC pretty much every time I've been trading them. Now, sometimes I hold longer in my positions as swing trade, day trade, but I'm very active in this. Now, he's made $118,000 in profit, and this is just off UEC. Now, he actually just started trading not too long ago within the last couple of years. So that is very impressive. Now, this is not typical, but this shows you the volatility in uranium. There are other people as well. Now, we got some other profits here. This is actually, he's a nuclear engineer. He's from the Navy, Hallister. Now, this is pretty cool. $3,000 profit in this in UEC. Not as big of positions, obviously, but it's still great profits, especially in this volatile market. I think UEC right now is $4.20. The market overall dropped back 5%, but I mean, these things are pretty typical. A lot of people in here been here more than a couple years in the Discord, and his is actually on UEC percentage is 183%. You don't always have to show in the gain section what your profits exactly are. Same thing with Centrus, really nice. This is when we were covering it. There's a lot of us were trading it. He got in pretty much at the very bottom on this last pullback. $17 is what it was around that time. Just kind of buying it on the dollar cost averaging in. Very, very impressive there as well. A lot of other new people as well. Some smaller positions. Percentage here. This is actually good. $6,000, 24%. And I mean, 24%. Some other people just taking small amounts. This was a $200 profit here. And another one here, Deep Yellow. This is actually really good. 123%. It's a $13,000, $14,000 gain so far. Looks like you were actually going to take profits, you said. You might cash out. Now, this move really, since I was covering it with the Vimy merger, we knew that this stock, Deep Yellow, was going to be undervalued, and it just was a matter of time before the market put value on it. Same thing with LEU, Centrus Energy. Centrus Energy down here, it was just insane when they were bringing in more money than their market cap per every 2 or 3 quarters, per their market cap. It was just a matter of time. But very risky still, like I said, today in swing trade. But there are a lot of great investors in here, a lot of people. Our buddy Lewis Morgan here, Gymshark, he created Gymshark, multi-billion dollar company. It's really cool. But it's been a crazy week, for uranium, and it's still nice to see people taking profits. And if you're a long-term investor, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the long-term investing. But when you have inflation and CPI numbers coming out today that are still really, really hot, you're going to get a pullback in the overall market. And this is what the market looks like right now. Amazon down almost 6%. UEC still 420. Now, I still have my UEC position. I was really thinking that this past couple days about taking profits. Now, I've left over 6 figures of profits on the table. And, I was posting about UEC, so I felt that if I had sold it immediately, even though I said I'm a day and swing trader, that it would look bad. So I thought that I would wait, and it's obviously cost me a lot of those unrealized gains. But I really do see a stock like this moving up, long term. And because I am like 90+% cash anyways, having this position there, even though, like I said, I didn't take the profits, I'm still happy with the move. I'm still up in it. But I think that this type of move, especially, we don't know with uranium, anything could happen at any point in any day. But the overall market is down. The chart here for UEC is still looking good in my opinion. I am not going to sell out of this position just yet. I would like to take profits. I would like to see this break out over $5 again and get up in here where it's destined to head with, especially these catalysts coming in. But like I said, in the meantime, I'm heavy cash and we'll just see what the market puts value on a lot of these. Cameco is still doing pretty well. It was green earlier, but the fact that you put the overall market down this much and Cameco only down, say 1%, it's not too bad. I'm not too worried, for uranium. I really think that because these CPI numbers are coming up, inflation is going to continue and it's going to wreak havoc on this winter on the energy commodities, especially. We're seeing, crude oil is down like 0.5% and, uranium's down 25 cents. So, and that's just obviously in the spot market. The real thing is these long-term contracts. So, another thing I wanted to let you all know about is, and if you're new to the channel, if you aren't, you've heard this, I just want to reiterate that during the 1970s, this is really where we're at. And I want to talk about uranium stocks and how they're not like the 2000s anymore and how I'm going to play it. And we're going to talk about that. But here you can see that inflation was started off about when the price of uranium was at historic lows at that time. And this is adjusted for inflation, by the way, $32. It wasn't 32, it was adjusted. Now, if you see the stock market went down over 45% S&P 500, this is 1970s, and the federal fund rate started to climb, right? The rates had to go up and inflation was over 12% at this point. Now, the thing is uranium does really well in this environment, especially in an energy crisis like we see. They had a recession here and then uranium prices in a couple years reached record highs, over $218 adjusted for inflation. So this is really where we're at, even with all of these negative things in the market. This is where we're at. Now, in a minute, I'm going to talk about the overall uranium stocks and why a lot of these are not going to see the exact moves and why others could see even bigger moves than they saw in the early 2000s. Now, one other thing that I want to talk about, DOE said today, something that I've been talking about for a while, could the nation's coal plant sites help drive a clean energy transition? And there are a lot of coal plants, that are going to be retired. Now, I posted this originally in August. Now, I said the U.S. climate bill could help the record closing of coal plants and turn them into advanced nuclear power plants like TerraPower is doing with one of their plants there in Wyoming. 12.6 gigawatts of coal capacity is going to close this year, okay, by the end of the year. That's 85% of the closures. Now, you can see here, this is Palisades. This is likely going to be extended as well. So all of these coal plants here that you can see on this chart could very well turn into a nuclear power plant in the future. So this is something to keep on your radar. This is not demand that is actually accounted for yet in the future. So uranium price is going to go up no matter what, in my opinion. The other thing is this is really bullish for the future of nuclear energy. I don't know how to pronounce this. This is in South Korea, but the G is to become a global base for small modular reactor industry. So their governor said the interest in SMRs is gaining attention worldwide and competition for technology development is accelerating. We secure the world's best technology by providing extensive support for the entire nuclear power cycle from R&D to construction, dismantling, storage. So they will lead the era of these SMRs, what they're saying. And they've actually put $500 million plus into this new facility. And I believe this facility, they said because there's 71 SMR designs under development in 20 countries, and they think this market's going to be big. They're actually building these 16 research facilities, which is $500 million. So this is South Korea. They're really leading the way. Very bullish future. Now, another update, the IEA director general statement on what's going on. So the backup power line, another one they've actually got back up, has been restored, providing the plant with this external electricity that's needed to cool the reactors. They're in the safe reactor shutdown mode. But what's going on is you don't really need these generators. Now, a lot of people were asking about it. These generators are only if both of these new power lines are destroyed. They have 13 plus days. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be an issue, but it is on the radar out there. Now, Ukraine and Russia are interested in what they said in a Z plant protection zone. Now, remember, Russia does want this reactor, $10+ billion, and they want to utilize this energy and send it off, obviously. It's 20% of the country's power, right? Now, one more thing before we jump into the uranium stocks. The nuclear fuel cycle in Japan is at risk, and there's multiple articles talking about this. Governor in Japan said that the situation is such that the promotion of the nuclear fuel cycle is in jeopardy. Now, their reprocessing plant of that MOX fuel there has been postponed time after time after time. Now, they did get another plant up, but also the fuel that they're getting from France is in jeopardy as well. Not only do they have issues getting it on the ship, but the plant itself is having issues because this MOX fuel in the reactors is not doing very well. That France is actually switching their MOX fuel back to traditional. There's multiple big reactors in France that they're doing that with. But because they are not getting this processing plant up, which is getting pushed back, mainly because it uses plutonium, right? And their history, they don't like that, obviously, there. So this is something we got to keep an eye on, that fuel cycle. I think a lot of traditional fuel is going to be needed in the future versus this MOX fuel. We're about to jump into the uranium stocks, but I just want to show you the price of uranium actually did go down a little bit here. It's about 51.75 on the ask. This just broke right now. So I was just gonna let you guys know that right now there's somewhat of a little bit pullback in the price of uranium. But remember, the long-term contracting is really where it's at. I think that, you got little bitty traders, 100,000 pounds in uranium. And when that happens, sometimes you see a pullback. But what we're going to talk about is the 2000 uranium bull market really quickly. I'll try to keep this brief versus the 1970s. Now, 1970s, you had record inflation. You had those rate hikes. And really the people mining uranium in the US especially were big oil companies. Now in the US now, that's not the case. A lot of those were on the OTC BB that doesn't even exist anymore. They were tiny, yet they still did massive moves, right? UEX as well, very small compared to where I think that they're going to get this uranium bull market. We see a lot of these stocks, but one of the things is, I think that really what's going to do really well this uranium bull market is the ones with permits, with pounds in the ground. And we didn't have a recession and record inflation during that time as much as we're seeing now. So there will be less speculative numbers out there, less speculative investments, in my opinion. It does not mean that some of these stocks down here, the low market caps, won't do well. Now, it does not mean that these low market cap stocks won't do well in uranium, but there are going to be less investment, in my opinion. I think a lot of the bigger market caps with zero debt, massive cash amounts, with physical pounds they can sell you to utilities to get these contracts started. That's where it's going to be. Now, a lot of people don't know, but Deep Yellow, the company now, their management was Paladin before. Now, Paladin didn't even get 250,000 pounds of uranium up before the uranium bull market started to drop. Their stock price actually peaked. So they got into production and they had issues. So they had to buy 250,000 pounds of uranium in the spot market in late 2006 into 2007. And the stock price, still they saw its peak right around that time in 2007. And then the price of uranium went down. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think uranium prices are going to go up and boom back down that quickly. I think that we're going to see a long-term bull market. We're seeing record amounts of contracting coming back into the market, 700 million pounds. So the companies that actually have uranium already, I think they're going to do a lot better. And each round I will evaluate because there are explorers down here that I am looking at. There are a bunch of companies out there that I will take some of my profits because, day and swing trading, you can do very well. You can have extra cash. Now, I wouldn't like to use my core money. I would like to use profits for investments in very risky stocks, possibly in uranium. But when I'm looking at this right now, when we're seeing this next round of uranium, when we start to see prices over 100, my thesis could change a little bit. But right now it is U.S. producers, especially with uranium, especially with permits. And the market share for the U.S. producers, there's a massive upside because it's zero right now. The price of uranium goes up and the market's going to have to reevaluate what these uranium stocks, especially in the US that are getting into production, what they're rated at, what their multiples will be. And I think they're going to be very high. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to do a lot better than a developer even. And a developer in these inflationary environments has to get up brand new projects. They have to raise a lot of money and dilute. And in an inflationary environment, during that time in a recession, it's going to be a lot harder than people think. Just because a company has a ton of uranium in the ground or high grades does not mean they're going to get out. And even crazier than that, they're not going to necessarily be able to sell that uranium. Just because they have it, it does not mean that they are going to get a contract with the utility company like a producer, a big producer would. Remember, these utility companies want to have less risk, especially after the issues they've been seeing lately. And because, we're seeing issues around the world with particularly getting a lot of this uranium, and possibly in the future with Russia not being able to get it, we could see utility companies want more domestic supply. The US government's going to be buying. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, guys, let me know below. Am I wrong on this? Are you guys only thinking that these explorers is where the big upside is? Because that quote, all ships will rise when the tide rises. I think it's very possible that we see some of these uranium stocks still do, pretty good, especially because look how far off we are. But this kind of shows us that we're still this far off, and uranium is still at $52, $51.75 in the spot market. That the market is looking into the more risks now, especially in this inflationary environment, this recession. So it is possible, in my opinion, that we see a lot bigger moves. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. And remember, when you're day and swing trading, it is very tough. But when a stock drops as much as we've seen, a lot of these uranium stocks, 50, 60, 70% in some of these, there is a 233% upside for a 70% drop. You should definitely memorize this chart, especially if you're day and swing trading, just to see what you'll need back, especially if you're positioned, you're day trading, swing trading, it goes down 30%. You need a 43% gain to break even. But anyways, my uranium sheet, if you guys want access to this, it's in the link in the description below. But I want to let you guys know that I am still very bullish uranium. And because I am heavy cash, it does not mean that I don't want to buy uranium up. That's the only stocks in the sector, the entire market that I want to buy, and are in the uranium sector. So I am very bullish still. I will be checking your comments, so give your like number. And if you want to win this uranium right here, you want to win this, you need to be subscribed. You need to also give me your like number and tell me what price of uranium you think will be on January 1st, 2023. You got to be subscribed. You also, if you want to do it in the Discord, there's a link in the description below for the free Discord channel. A lot of you are in there, a lot of great investors as well in the free one. And that link's going to expire in less than a day. Now, you will get a year subscription to the Discord as well as this actual physical uranium specimen, the winner of that.